next, we're thrilled to welcome a leader whose insights are shaping the next era of the global industry, Sebastián Trolli, Head of Research for Industrial Automation and Software at Frost Sullivan. With more than 20 years of experience, Sebastian brings a research-driven perspective on the trends redefining how manufacturers think about automation, software, and strategy. In his keynote, Manufacturing at a Crossroads, Rethinking Automation, Software, and Strategy, he'll explore the opportunities and challenges facing industrial leaders today and share a clear, actionable playbook for navigating the next 5 years. So please join me in giving him a warm welcome. And Sebastian, come on up.
Thank you, Haley. All right, can you hear me well? Yeah? All right, well, first of all, thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate you coming to this session. And thanks to the Tulip team for this amazing opportunity. As Haley mentioned, my name is Sebastián Trolli. I'm based out of Buenos Aires, Argentina. That's why probably my English is not that good. I'm the head of research for the industrial automation and software team at Frost Sullivan. Prior to that, prior to joining Frost Sullivan 4 years ago as a senior industry analyst, I spent my professional journey in the manufacturing and industrial automation and software business, working for chemical manufacturers and then for Honeywell, process solutions and connected industrial divisions for almost 13 years, right? Always, or almost always, in engineering and consulting roles, right? So I would love to connect with you on LinkedIn. So if you see here the QR code, please feel free to scan it because I would love to connect with you there. So as the session title says, today we are discussing about why manufacturing today is at a crossroads, what to do and how to do, what actions to take in order to overcome that situation, right? So this is the agenda for today, really quick. We will start talking about why manufacturing is at a crossroads, right? Which are the challenges, the current challenges, big challenges that the manufacturing industry is facing. Then the opportunities, because in spite of challenges, there are huge opportunities. Why 2026 is going to be a tipping point, And that first column, the left column, introduces to the why question, right? Why is at the crossroads? Why 2026 is a tipping point, an inflection year? The column in the right tries to answer the what and how, right? Rethinking our approach, automation, software, and strategy. Then I will present very briefly a case study from Tulip, which represents, it's an organization that represents this approach, right, of rethinking automation from a human-centric standpoint, software like a digital force multiplier and also industrial strategy, mostly with their collaborative ecosystem. And last but not least, the actions that every single actor in the manufacturing landscape, no matter if you're a manufacturer, an industrial software vendor, or even an investor, you can take the actions you can take to, leverage the opportunities, overcome the challenges, and make the manufacturing industry continue to grow, right? So let's start with this number. This is the only data point in this presentation that is not from Frost & Sullivan Research. This is taken from the US National Association of Manufacturers. And this number represents the big challenge or the big crisis the manufacturing industry is facing today. Even though this number it's a US number, the challenge is global, right? So if you attended Nathan's session this morning, you will find some similarities, right? And one of the things that he spoke today was the manufacturing crisis, right? If things are kept in this way, by 2030, we will face 2.1 million unfilled US manufacturing positions by 2030, right? Some sources says 1.9 million. National Association of Manufacturers says 2.1 million, but the truth is it's about 2 million manufacturing positions that are going to be unfilled if we do not take action, right? So why we said that manufacturing is today at a crossroads? Okay, well, first of all, you know this better than me. Manufacturing in the US is a huge industry. It contributes to $2.3 trillion to the US GDP. with supporting 15 million jobs approximately. 13 million, 14 million, 15 million, depending on the source, right? So why is it a crossroads? Because we have two different, it's a kind of paradox, like two different trends. On one hand, we have a huge workforce crisis, right? As you can see, there are some stats from our research. 50% of the manufacturing employees are 45 or older, and 55 or older, right? And on the other hand, in spite of this massive workforce challenge, there is a lot of growth opportunities in the manufacturing environment driven by a huge technology investment, right? There is a technology development boom, and also there is an investing boom in manufacturing, right? Just for you to know, these are numbers from the global industrial automation and software market, which of course are the technologies that are being used in manufacturing process. Either it is hybrid manufacturing, discrete manufacturing, or process manufacturing. Today, the market is valued at more or less 150 billion US dollars, but it is projected to grow, to double its size to $300 billion by 2030. So here you can see kind of the paradox, right? There is a massive workforce challenge, but we are projecting, you know, the growth of the industrial automation and software market almost at a 14% CAGR, compound annual growth rate, which is a record for the industry, right? So let's dive deeper a little bit into the challenge. From my perspective, the workforce challenge can be seen from three different ways, right, or three different perspectives. Number one is the aging workforce. We saw some examples in the previous slide, right? The age of the manufacturing workforce, the average age. Second, what it's called the brain drain. I mean, that's the knowledge that is being lost due to the aging workforce retiring. And third, which is also very important, is the other way around. It's the younger generations, right? Because the manufacturers are finding extremely difficult to attract, to hire, and to retain younger generations, right? There is some sort of conception that manufacturing is not attractive, you know, for this digital savvy or digital native generation. So manufacturers, leaders are now thinking strategies on how to overcome that situation, right? In spite of these challenges, we saw that there are opportunities as well. So let's dive deeper. So if companies, and this is very important, if companies adapt their workforce, there are huge opportunities for increasing productivity and profitability in the manufacturing business. Here are some stats that shows why digital strategies are very, very important for manufacturers. 94% they believe that digital strategies is the digital strategy is essential for their growth, right? 83% of the manufacturing executives are planning to invest in AI in operations by 2026. And there is 78% of manufacturing executives that are at least devoting 20% of their budget, technology budget, to smart manufacturing technologies, like, for instance, industrial AI, data management, right? Connected worker, augmented worker. Right? So here are some numbers, some stats from our research, and I mentioned that there was not just a kind of a technological revolution, but also there is an investment boom. 2024, 2025, those 2 years saw a record in influx of capital, VC and PE firms investing in industrial software companies, more than $8 billion, and that is a record as well for the industry, right? So that's kind of why the manufacturing industry is at a crossroads, right? The challenges, but also the opportunities, right? Now, why, again the question, why 2026 is going to be a tipping point, or we expect to be an inflection year to drive growth in the manufacturing industry. Oh, sorry, here. Thing is, in 2026, there are a couple of things that are going to happen. First of all, our research shows that the manufacturing AI spending is projected to be almost $17 billion next year. And those factories who use some sort of computer vision systems in their production lines, 20% of those firms, of those manufacturing firms, will adopt AI-driven vision systems. So it's clear that 2026 represents the year from pilots to scale in terms of AI, right? So that's why 2026 is going to be a really important year. Remember this morning's keynote with Nathan, highlighting the importance of AI and how AI is going to be everywhere in the production processes, right? So, we have presented the why. Why manufacturing is at a crossroads, why 2026 is going to be a tipping point, an inflection year for the manufacturing industry, of course driven mainly by AI. Now let's talk about what to do in order to leverage those opportunities, overcome those challenges, right? And the answer is we need to rethink our approach, right? Based on 3 pillars. Rethink automation processes, rethink industrial software, and rethink industrial strategies, right? So sorry. Similar concept today Nathan mentioned in his in his keynote. When we talk about rethinking automation, we need to to foster, I would say, a people-centric, human-centric approach, right? From the automation technologies, because automation now, even though it's still very well represented by the ISA, I don't want to be technical, but a little bit, just a little bit, the automation pyramid, the ISA 95 pyramid, well, that continues to be very useful to represent some, I would say, automation architectures, but the reality is that it is slowly becoming, a flexible layer centered in the operator, not in the process. Yeah, of course, they control the process, but it's more and more centered in the operator. And how we are seeing this, or where are we seeing this? Sorry. There are more modular and flexible automation solutions. There is a design which is operator first, right? Think of composable HMIs, for instance, right? There are technologies that augment the operator abilities, like, for instance, extended reality technologies and also collaborative robots, cobots, right? Which is a massive, a massive high-growth market, right? And last but not least, applying agile manufacturing principles, right? Which is also based in having the ability or the flexibility to reconfigure production lines in days against months, right? So the idea here is that automation needs to be conceived today as a tool, as a technology to assist the operators, right? And not to replace them. So that's the fundamental approach, right? Being composable, being worker-friendly. How about industrial software? Industrial software are those technologies that will allow the frontline workers to be digital super users, right? These are the technologies that will not just assist the operator, but also they will allow, as Nathan says in this morning, do more with more instead of do more with less, right? So, a couple of examples here. Knowledge capture, there are already technologies out there, mostly the augmented and connected worker solutions that are capturing, the workforce knowledge to avoid, that sort of brain drain when the aging workforce retires, right? In terms of real-time analytics, there are hundreds of companies out there building dashboards, right? Analytics. With this technology, operators or production analysts can monitor lots of production lines simultaneously. So again, another example of doing more with more, right? And the idea is that there is also a trend that factories are more and more being software defined. With software defined, even in the control layer, right? There are companies that are pursuing, the implementation of virtual PLCs instead of the hardware, right? The hard PLC. Software is driven operations in those factories, and some people say that probably by 2040, more or less, the factories could function largely autonomously, right? I think that's some sort of kind of idealistic thing, because always the human, the operator, the human in the loop approach will always be needed, right? In order to take the final decision or approve the final decision that probably an AI agent will suggest to the operator, right? And last but not least, to present the what can we do in order to overcome those challenges and to leverage those growth opportunities is to rethink strategy, industrial strategy. And here we have four main pillars, right? One is reinvest in people, address talent gap by investing in workforce development rigorously as new equipment, right? Number two is scale technology boldly, build resilience. This is more related to supply chains mainly, and of course collaborate in new ways, which means basically we will dive deeper in this topic as well. Create a whole ecosystem which needs to be comprised by different actors, right? So let's dive deeper into each of those pillars to ensure a winning strategy in this manufacturing era. Reinvest in people. To summarize in just one statement or one phrase, it could be people first, right? And that means creating continuous upskilling programs, leverage extended reality technologies, revamp recruiting processes, right? I mean, the idea is to attract the younger talent, the younger generation, the digital natives, right? And let them know that manufacturing is a really cool, a word that they use a lot, or it's really cool, right, to work, and to provide them the right skills and the right digital tools to perform their job really well. The second pillar, which is scale technology boldly, I would say, if I can summarize this in just one phrase, go big on automation and software. And that means create or develop a technology roadmap that aligns with your business goals. That should be the first step. Second step, scale quickly, right? Third step, integrate AI strategically, right? Because AI, at the end of the day, will augment the operator's capabilities, the operations capability as a whole, right? And number four, deploy and train simultaneously. When you are implementing, if you're a manufacturer and you hire a vendor to implement a new technology solution, during the implementation phase, take advantage of that time to also train your people, right? So they will be embracing these new digital tools, digital solutions more quickly, right? Number three, third pillar, which is build resilience. And with resilience, of course, we mean the ability to absorb all those disruptions, right? That the supply chain was, or especially since post-pandemic, has been experiencing. So the idea of building resilience is there are 74% of manufacturing executives that are thinking of or are already implementing reshoring or nearshoring strategies. For instance, China plus one. Okay, we will keep our China operations there, but we will also start manufacturing in other countries, right, to gain some flexibility and agility. In terms of if you are a manufacturer, for instance, of a hybrid industry like pharma, for instance, and you operate in batch, so consider to embrace small batch production, which is aided by automation with end-to-end visibility through data. We will see something about that on the Tulip use case. And last but not least, regarding digital workflows, the idea is to invest in modular production lines or flexible automation cells. They are also another modular industrial application, I would say, that can be reconfigured quickly and allows, using software to simulate, and to optimize changes, right? Last but not least, And probably this is one of the most important ones for me, along with the people first, or the reinvesting people, which is collaborate through ecosystems. Not just partnerships, but ecosystems. And from our perspective, a true manufacturing ecosystem is comprised by these 6 actors. The tech providers, the manufacturers, of course, investors, educational institutes, I mean academia, right? Industry consortia, and open source projects. For instance, think of Margo, which is an open source project for Industrial Edge, or the OPAF, which is an open source project for process automation, open process automation, SparkPlug-B, which was an open source project for MQTT connectivity, right? So today, if you want to succeed, you need to take a collaborative approach. There is no one size fits all, or no one can do it alone. So, and Tulip is a great example of that. If you saw today, if you enter the Tulip headquarters, the first thing you see is the collaborative ecosystem they have, right? So it's quite impressive. Oh, sorry. So really quick, we were talking about Tulip. Why I mentioned Tulip? Well, basically because from our perspective in Frost & Sullivan, we think Tulip is probably the company that better represents, right, this transformation, this rethinking approach, right? Because they, from an automation standpoint, they have a human-centric perspective. From a software standpoint, they are digital multipliers. I mean, they provide digital solutions that are cutting-edge, state-of-the-art. You saw those new advancements in today's morning keynote. And of course, from a collaborative ecosystem standpoint, they are doing really great, you know, partnering with companies like Hive, software-defined automation, HiveMQ, a lot of companies that play different roles in the tech stack, right? But that's the way to succeed today, right? So just a quick example, there is a pharma company, the case study from Tulip, that by implementing Tulip, not just the technologies, but taking advantage of their services and their approach, they were able to reduce 78% the changeover time, right? Before manual process, after digital apps, and almost 100% the errors that were produced in the changeover process. So this transformation, as you can read there, showcases the power of human-centric digital tools, right? From 14 days to 3 days, they change over time. So that's why it is extremely important to have this people-centric approach, being digital, a digital multiplier, and of course, the power of collaborative ecosystems, right? So we introduced the why, we introduced the what, and now the how. How can we apply this new approach of rethinking automation, rethinking software, and rethinking industrial strategy? So here there are concrete actions for the different actors in the ecosystem. If you're a manufacturer, if you are an industrial software vendor, or even if you are an investor, right? So let's start talking about manufacturers. First of all, empower and upskill your teams. People first. Remember that pillar, right? Reinvest in people. Launch training initiatives, right? Boot camps, apprenticeship, you know, expansions. Involve workers in tech deployments, and that is extremely important because it will give them a sense of belonging, right? Oh man, I'm being part of this project of implementing a technology. It's a sense of pride for them. A genuine sense of pride. So it's extremely important. Number 2, of course, prioritize automation process to automate not just your operational processes, but enterprise-wide process. Integrate and iterate. Integrate new technologies with existing process. Pilot quickly, learn, scale success. That is, apply lean and agile methodologies that we saw today also in the Stanley Black & Decker keynote. Number 4, you know, there should be a top-down, you know, culture, a top-down message of aligning the digital culture and implementing a digital culture in the whole organization. And no matter if you are part of a leadership role or if you are part of an execution team, right? Every single actor in a manufacturing facility has really, really a very important role to play, right? No matter if you are the CEO or you are part of the frontline workforce, right? So alignment is essential. For the industrial vendors, which is a playbook, right? Number one, focus on user-centric design. This is user-friendly applications. Composability, again, a concept that was introduced by Nathan today in the morning keynote. Deliver outcomes, not just tools. Do not sell just products. Sell solutions, complete solutions. I mean, sell not just the product itself, but also the training, you know, implementation teams, and even from a business model standpoint, you can offer success-based pricing, right? There's a rise today. This is mostly, you can see this mostly on predictive maintenance companies that develop predictive maintenance software, outcome as a service. So they charge you, right, with guaranteeing you that you will get a certain outcome, right? I don't know, 99% of 98% of downtime reduction, right? So they charge you for that. Number three, invest in partnerships, right? We saw it, it's collaborative ecosystems. And number four, educate the market. That is basically, you know, invest in training programs, user communities, knowledge sharing, you know, webinars, think tanks, etc., and become a partner for the manufacturers in their upskilling journey, right? What about if you are an investor? I don't know if there is an investor. Ah, yeah, Ken is an investor here. So, so which are the main actions for investors? Bet on the enablers. And with enablers, I mean those companies that are really bridging the gap between technology and people, right? And they are actually addressing real manufacturing challenges, like for instance, workforce productivity, supply chain technologies, industrial AI, robotics, no-code platforms. I would add also industrial data management here, augmented connected worker. Those are the high growth markets today that are really solving manufacturing operations and transforming the manufacturing operations landscape today. Second, be patient, right? You know, the industrial adoption is not quick. You know, it has a long cycle. So support the investors, support the manufacturers through pilot to scale journeys. You know, start investing. If you evaluate and you are sure and you are convinced that pilot is going to be successful, start investing since that stage, right? So, but remember, play the long game. Number three, foster connections. So the idea here is to help establishing relationships between software vendors of your portfolio with manufacturers and foster partnerships between companies that are part of your software portfolio, right? And number four, include people metrics, which is basically means that pay attention or pay special attention to those companies that, you know, handle the human element better, and they really take care of the human element, right? So, in a nutshell, today we are seeing a transformation, as Nathan said today, in this morning keynote. So there are two possible paths here: the path of inaction or the path of transformation, which is basically aligning technology, of course, with the people and with a strong culture of change management in the organization. So basically, the choice is yours, right? Either you could be a pioneer in this new wave of industrial transformation, or you can lag behind and suffer all this crisis of lost competitiveness, talent drain, vulnerability to disruption. So the choice is yours to make now. Of course, my recommendation would be, with the right vision and execution, you can reinvent manufacturing for the better. So now there is time for questions. I'm open to questions. Thank you so much. Sorry, I was a little bit quick. There was too much to say, so I appreciate it. Any questions? Okay. If you want, please, I encourage you to download our latest newspaper. It's completely free. You scan the QR code and you will get the PDF. You don't need to register anything. So this is our latest white paper on a piece of research, 13-page piece of research on the industrial automation and software growth landscape 2026. You will see there strategic imperatives, growth opportunities, companies to action. Of course, Tulip is there. And for manufacturers, investors, right, and industrial software vendors. So I invite you to download the white paper, and of course, let's network and continue discussions. Please feel free to follow me on LinkedIn. That's my email. I would love to, engage in conversations, in discussions with you regarding industrial automation, software, manufacturing issues. We are here to help. So thank you so much for attending, and thank you for your interest. And have a great rest of operations calling.